Hi, Rebecca here. Once again, I cannot sleep because between the husband and the dogs, the snoring is cacophonous. And so I came downstairs and thought I would play with some ink. And if I'm going to play with ink, I may as well give you the joy of watching it dry, because we all know how much we love that. So tonight, I wanted to play with some chromashading inks. I have one or two from each of 6 companies laid out in front of me, probably in badly placed because I'm going to have to reach across to them. So 6 companies, 8 inks, all chromashaders. Now I know I did a video a few years ago in which I erroneously called this type of ink chromashaders. I have since been corrected, it is chromashaders. So we will start with Van Dieman's. Now Van Dieman's is an Australian company, and they recently put out a line called Natura Dualis, and these are chromashaders. Dualis because they show dual colors, 2 colors, and I picked up sample size. These are 5 milliliter samples from Soe Soe in Australia, and I'm in Canada, and they got to me in less than 2 weeks, so I was quite impressed with the shipping speed. But Soe Soe carries Van Dieman's inks, and I thought I would do some swatching. Now these are the neatest little bottles. They have a dropper. So I imagine they are some sort of medical sample vial. I'm just going to use the back of my sample pen to delineate or to spread the ink and to sort out where I want it. This first one that I'm laying down is called, nope, not that one, it's this one, Sea Spray. So I will write with the ink as well as swatching with it. So this is a fine nib, and the paper is Irriful papers. This is Van Dieman's. Natura Dualis is the line. I'm hoping I'm spelling that correctly. And this is Sea Spray. So these little 5 milliliter samples are more expensive than picking up just a 2 milliliter sample. Obviously, there's more ink, more than twice as much ink, and they come in the handy little dropper bottle. But I like them because you have enough to really play with swatching, plus get a good 4, maybe even 5 ink loads, if converter loads, if you're using a regular converter. The average converter, I have read, don't trust me on this, but I have read in a number of places, takes about 0.87 milliliters of ink. So a converter load, you get about, with 5 milliliters of ink, you can easily load up 5 converters, plus have plenty left over for sampling. So the next one up, also Van Dieman's, is their Harvest Tide. That should be enough. Spread that puppy out. Might have to lay some more down. Yeah, might have to lay some more down. This one is much lighter, as you can see. Yeah, I'm gonna lay some more down. The more you have down, the more that the chromashading nature shows up. If your swatch is even all over, no, your chromashading is not going to show. You need differentiation. So you need wet areas and drier areas. Jasmine's Natura Dualis. I'm trying really hard not to cough. And this is Harvest Tide. And this is one you could see as I wrote, as I used up the ink, it was getting lighter and lighter, so I had to go over it again. So Harvest Tide, not great with a fine nib, but I'm not usually a fine nib person. I tend to write with and purchase medium nibs. So let's see if I can zoom in a little, bring that down, maybe a little more, because let's face it, you don't need to see all that empty space. Yeah, that's better. So you can already see layers of pinkness and levels of, like, there's a cyan kind of color in the sea spray, a sea foamy green. There's pale, washed out yellow green and pinks in the Harvest Tide. And next, going to head down here. The next ink I'm going to play with comes from Taiwan. It is called Ink Institute is the brand, and this is Shuiyang Forest. So we were in Australia, now we're in Taiwan. So Taiwan, Nantao, Shuiyang Forest. This one is interesting. When I saw a swatch of this, I thought, oh, it's green, nothing exciting there. I don't know what paper the swatch was done on when I bought this, but holy cow, it's not just green. There is stuff going on with this ink, and it is really interesting. But again, you have to have areas of thin and thick ink or wet and not as wet areas. So I'm introducing some extra ink, and that will help to bring up the chromashading. So this is by Ink Institute. I don't know what line this is. This is, let me just dip that again. Let's go with that H, A-N-G, Forest. Shuiyang Forest. I'm sure my pronunciation is absolutely terrible, but I'm trying. I'm giving it a shot. And on this one, I can see deeper greens, almost blues, and there's a bit of purpley pink in there. So there is stuff going on with this ink. And that is the point of this video. Stuff going on with these inks. So next, I'm moving to, wait, is this one Taiwan or China? China. The next 4 brands you're going to see are from China. So first we'll start with a brand you've probably heard of. This is Kitty Inkpot. And this is, so Kitty Inkpot Studio, no, since 2025. Let me just get my, it says Kitty Inkpot since 2025. So new ink company. And this is their Kitty Island series. And the translation of these symbols is caressing the pale moon. So here we go. Because this is a light one, I'm going to start by putting down quite a bit and then throw a whack more on there. Whack being a technical ink term. You need a whack of ink to be happy. No, you don't. You really don't. But I like a whack of ink to keep me happy. Kitty, Inkpot. And this series is Kitty Island. And this is called Caressing the Pale Moon. Obviously, it is a very light color, and the kind of coloration we will get from it is a beigey yellow and a bit of orange, and maybe, if we're lucky, some green. So I'm just going to pop back up on the page, and we're going to look at things that are starting to dry up above. So we're getting some really interesting chroma shading there. This one's a bit dark, so it's hard to see. This one's still very wet. So that's the sound of me sliding ink out of the way. Let's see if I can get that a little straighter. There we go. Moving down the page. Next up is a brand called Ostrich ink. Now, I got this from Soe Soe, but you can also find it on AliExpress. Soe Soe is a stationery company in Australia, based in Australia, and the owners do a great job of bringing a curated collection of inks and stickers and all sorts of stationery things in from China. So they've got some amazing inks I've never seen anywhere else, like Ostrich inks. I have not seen these inks advertised anywhere else, and I thought I would start by buying one of them, because you can't always start by buying 4 seasons worth of a series, 4 seasons worth of an ink, like I did with Kitty Inkpot. Kind of went overboard there. That's Tom coughing, if you heard that. So this is Ostrich Ink, is the company. This is something like 24 chroma shading inks. It's a collection they've done. You can actually buy the whole collection through Soe Soe, but this one is called Sycamore Tree. And you will see that it has very interesting chroma shading properties once it dries down. Now, I don't know where the term dries down came from. I've heard it from numerous people who, like me, make videos about ink drying. I used to say when something dried up, the implication being evaporation, the moisture rises, goes into the sky, yada, yada, yada. Something dries up, a puddle dries up. But when we talk about ink, we talk about drying down. I don't know where that came from. And the fact that I'm doing it so naturally is kind of weirding me out a little bit. So if anyone knows where that came from, please share with me. So next up is an ink by Hosia. Now, I got this one from AliExpress, but Soe Soe also carries it. 30 milliliter bottle. I paid well over $1 a milliliter from AliExpress. I paid over $40 for this bottle and found it afterwards on Soe Soe for a much more reasonable price. So a little miffed at myself for not shopping around, but it's hard to shop around for inks where most of the characters are in Chinese, and I speak no Cantonese, read no Cantonese, write no Cantonese. So I did not do my homework, and I literally paid more than I needed to because of it. So this one is called Mung Shing. That is the color, Mung Shing. That is the colorway, and it is really interesting. When you can kind of see on the box here, it shows kind of a bluey, greeny, tealy color and an orange. And that is what is happening in the ink. I have this one in a pen, so I will use that pen instead of dipping and using my nib. Let's see, where's that pen? Over here. So I'm just gonna close that ink up so I don't have an accident, an incident, of course. And it is in my, what are we? This is a Leonardo Memento Zero in Bohemian Twilight, which is the Jonathan Brooks material. And Bohemian Twilight has this gorgeous teal color and this stunning rich orange. So I figured, why not put a teal and orange ink into a teal and orange pen? So the company name is Hosia Ink Studio. I do not know the line name. Like all the other inks I've shown you today, this is a dye-based ink. They're all dye-based inks. This is Mung Shing, which apparently can be spelled different ways depending on the translation, but I'm writing it out as it shows on the bottle. And you can already see, or at least I hope you can see, there's teal bits and there's orange bits, and it's really interesting. So my last two are by one company, and that is Fanyantan. So Fanyantan fountain pen ink, made in China. So these I got from Soe Soe in Australia. I mean, they're importing the most interesting inks. So this is the artwork on the bottle. And I'm going to have to look up the name of this one. If you'll just bear with me while I reach over there. Over where? Yes. Soe Soe. I'm just going to pop a book over there. This is a bright saturated ink. Now, one thing most of these inks had in common so far is they were not saturated. But this one actually is quite saturated. As you can see, it is a very bright color. So a bit of a change from the other inks I'm showing you. Let's put some more volume down there. More liquid so we get good showing of the chromashading. So the company is Fanyantan. And the ink name is Yun Zhongjun. And again, my pronunciation is probably terrible, but I'm trying. I'm giving it a shot. So that is a rich, bright, saturated blue with purple coming up in places. So a stunning ink. And the artwork on this bottle, I know I showed it to you before, but it's worth seeing again. So I may end up buying more of these. I did buy a 5 milliliter one as well, Sakura Blizzard. So I just made a ginormous mess, and because I made a ginormous mess, I will share that with you. That's what I get from waving things around. So let's see, I'm going to close that bottle, wipe it off, get ink all over my fingers in the process. Try and pick some of this up. Made a very not rectangular rectangle. And of course, where I had the ink down initially is now marked as a triangle. Late night inking, not always the best idea. Not always the best idea. Oh, look at how pink that is. So I picked up the brown. There's green around the edge, and it leaves pink behind. So that's fun. Why is it leaking? It came with a little rubber stopper that was meant to be inside the bottle. And the little rubber stopper might have prevented that from happening. But so might, I don't know, just not flinging ink around. So, and 10. Sakura Blizzard. Sakura Blizzard. I can say Blizzard because I am Canadian and I live through them every year. That is one word I can pronounce properly. So I made a mess, an inky mess, and nothing wrong with an inky mess. Okay, I'm going to turn off recording now and do some more cleaning up and wait for the ink to dry. And when we come back, I will show you some really interesting dry inks. I'm back. The ink is dry. The mess is mostly cleaned up. And I added a title and checked where I got all these inks. So just for a quick review, these are both Van Diemen's inks, and I got them from Soe Soe, but you can get them from Van Diemen's directly, and you can get them from Van Ness and a few other places. This is an Ink Institute ink. I got that from Stilo Stile. These 4, so the Kitty Inkpot, the Ostrich ink, and the 2 Fanyantans I got from Soe Soe, SOE and SOE. It's a family name. And the Hosia Ink Studio I got directly from AliExpress, but also can be purchased at a better price from Soe Soe. So let's look at, let's look at the colors up close. Let me zoom in. So right off the bat, I'm seeing, let me get a better pointer. I'm seeing a dusty pink in here in the center, surrounded by bright blue, and then a soft kind of grayed seafoam color in the background. And then Harvest Tide, you get some pretty intense pinks, very clean green halo, and a soft, slightly muddy yellowed green here. Now I'm going to skip down a little because I want you to see Sycamore tree, but still have Harvest Tide in frame. So Sycamore tree is very similar. The background green is a little more muddy, a little more dirty or dusty, and the pink is not as intense, so it's a little more muted version of Harvest Tide. And that's really pretty in my view. I like it a lot, and that's a good thing because I have a bottle of it, whereas I only have a sample of Harvest Tide. So I did buy a bottle of the Sycamore tree. And I love how it writes. It's soft, it's subtle, but it's beautiful. So going back up, we have Shuiyang Forest by Ink Institute. It's almost too dark and dusty to show off the chromashading, but it is there. If you look closely, there's a little bit of pink in here. This is somewhere between navy and slate, a gray blue, and it's got a darker blue outline or halo around the thicker areas of application. On Kitty Island from Kitty Inkpot, Caressing the Pale Moon, we have a subtle orange background with pink and then kind of greenish halo. We already covered Sycamore Tree from Ostrich Ink. So let's look at this one next, the Mung Shing by Hosia Ink Studio. In the writing, which we can see a larger example of here, it looks like a dusty grayed green, but if you look close and if you lay it on thick enough, not only do you get really nice shading, dark areas, light areas, very pretty shading. If you look close, like if you bring a magnifying glass to it, you can see the teal and the orange breaking apart in the letters. Now, granted, you're not going to be taking a magnifying glass to your journal, but it is there, so it's a really neat effect if you're looking for it. In the swatch, we have kind of an orangey brown. Yeah, a warm orangey brown with teal around the outside and some dustiness where it's laid down thinner. With the Fanyantan Yun Zhongjun, with this, we've got this more saturated color. We've got purple in where I lay down the ink quite thick, outlined by a darker blue, and then softer blue and more purple as background colors. And finally, Sakura Blizzard. I made a mess of this one. I laid on too much ink because I made a ginormous mess and was trying to salvage the ink. You don't really see the chroma shading here. So I'm going to grab my journal and see what that swatch looked like, Sakura Blizzard, on Mitsubishi bank paper. And I think you'll be shocked. Let's lay the two of them side by side. So this is Sakura Blizzard on Irrefull paper, and this is Sakura Blizzard on Mitsubishi bank paper. It is bright light green with hints of pink. The words are not written in this ink. I just use a pink ink for writing all the lettering. Just the swatches were done on this page in the sample colors. But look at the difference. You'd never expect that to be the same ink. It's completely different. So laid on thick, it will pink up. Laid on thin, it goes down greenish. And Mitsubishi bank paper does this thing where it takes anything with a light or bright green and makes the green more intense, and kind of other colors drop away. The green comes to the forefront. So yeah, that's just That's just crazy. Anyway, that is a little video of 8 chromashading inks. Just kind of a taster to show you what they can do, some places to get them, and I'm gonna put it out there. I have to be honest, you don't see much of the chromashading in the writing. So if you're looking for something that shifts in the writing, you're not going to find it with a chromashading ink. You'll get shading, like you get great shading. The word AliExpress, it's fantastic shading, but you don't see all these big blurps of color breaking out and separating in normal printing. This stuff, this chromashading ink, is meant to be played with. It's meant to be arted with. It's meant to be painted with. Big swaths of color. Lay down lots and lots of ink, and that's how you best show off your chromashading inks. For my purposes, I love swatching. I love putting splatters on page. So I'll write a journal entry on 2/3 of a page, and then the bottom third of my page will be a splatter of ink. It might be ink from that page. It might be inks I was thinking about playing with next time I ink my pens. It could be anything like that. So chromashading inks are great for me because they decorate my journal pages. I'm not a sticker person. I'm not a washi tape person. I decorate my journal with inky swatches. So just an example, I should scroll out for this. Yep. In my, well, here we go. That was my 54th birthday. I swatched some of my favorite shimmer inks just to make myself happy. So just for fun. And I have to say, I am really impressed at, this is the Mitsubishi Bank paper. It barely, like you can see, I've swatched big, fat, wet swatches on both sides of the sheet, and you're not seeing bleed through, you're not seeing anything like that. And with this Aerofull paper, same thing. Oh, little bit of bleed through where they were especially heavy, but that's pretty good. That's not bad at all. So yeah, get yourself some good paper. Aerofull, Mitsubishi Bank paper, Tomoe River if you don't mind not writing on the back of the page. Midori MD will do too. It bleeds a little bit, but it looks fantastic. The properties are fantastic of the ink. Get yourself some good paper, play with your chromashading inks, swatch your butt off, paint with your inks, and have fun. Surround yourself in color. Thanks a lot. Bye.